like we're dressing the model. So first the skin tone goes in, then the hair color goes in, then the solid suit colors go in. So it will go in layers, right? Okay, so now, and when you put in your skin tone, be careful because what can happen is it bleeds tremendously. And you may have to check the drawing ever so often to see that you're registering the color accurately. Now, even if you have a bled edge, you'll find that the outline here and there will help to smooth out that bleeded edge, bled edge, whatever. So what you find too is that find some very creative English words in describing this process. Now, it's okay to leave small white areas and to not go completely to the edge of the outline. And you'll see what I mean when I take the pen and I add the outline in small segments. Notice that the hand, in this case, is placed on the side of the body. And the reason for that is sometimes the design of the swimwear can be complicated, and if you put the hand over the body in such a small area, it's very hard to work in there and get it to the design and show it appropriately. So you want to keep the hands away from the body as much as possible, and the stroke of the marker is a light one. So you want to, don't lean on the paper when you do this. In other words, I can't bear down and rest my wrist on the paper. I have to keep a very light hand. Now, what I can also do is, if I need to, and I want to do the belly area here, what I can also do is turn the piece if I have to. And it's easier to work it this way than to work it in the other direction. Okay, and now this is the fun part. At least I think it's fun. Notice that on the thigh there is a white highlight. On the leg, a little bit of a white highlight. See that white highlight? That highlight comes naturally in the stroke of the hand. So when and that usually happens in the middle of the thigh, okay? So I'm going to start my leg, and you'll find that you may have too much of a highlight, so you may have to narrow it down, see? By closing it up a little bit. Now, usually you see a little highlight at the thigh, on the shin bone at the lower leg. And because your models are runway models, they're going to be wearing fabulous shoes, Christian Louboutin, Manolo Blahnik, or who else could they wear? What other very fabulous shoes are there? Jimmy Choo, right. Very, very good. Okay, so on the front leg, I'm going to get more of a highlight because why? Yeah, because it's in the front and it's catching, very good. And who was that, Catherine? And it's catching the light. And I don't want to make them even outline, like especially on the back leg. You don't need a lot of reflection there because it's behind the other leg. Now, the shoes don't have to be heavy or very solid. They could be anything from boots, thigh-high boots, to sandals, depending on, what would that depend on in terms of the shoes? What would that depend on? Exactly. Say it louder, honey.
Your theme or inspiration.
Right. My theme or inspiration would depend on what I'm doing with the accessories, right? So now I'm going to try a hair color. Okay, and this is an orange. I would prefer a blonde. Let's see if I have something blonde. Oops, that's not blonde, is it? Where is that big box of markers that was on this table? Yeah, just hand me this, and let's see if we can pull out a blonde marker. Okay, dark yellow. Let's see. This is a good color, goldenrod. This is a nice color for bangs. Okay, now when I do the hair, remember I'm thinking about the direction that the hair is going will explain the hairstyle. So the direction the hair is going, it's going this way. And as I explain the hairstyle, I'm also creating what? Highlights, exactly. So I'm accomplishing several things at once. Okay. Several things at once. Bangs, combing the bangs. Okay, so I'm almost done with that. Have to clean that up with the outline. All right, now we're moving on to the solid fabrics in the garment. So, again, I'm testing the waters, and the top of this garment is a draped garment, so I'm putting in the fabric in the direction of the drape, and I've created white highlights with the stroke of the drape. And there was another pen that I was using. No. What's this one? Yeah, that's the one. That's it. Okay, so this also has a drape. And the best way to handle these are on a case-by-case basis so that you can see the more white that's exposed, the more sparkle the drawing will have. It's not about filling it in like a coloring book. It isn't a coloring book, okay? I think I'll put that band also in the same color so that it has a little, because when these designs are broken up into these small areas, what you will find is that the design can get choppy because it's a small design, a swimwear, just goes from neck to crotch, and it can look very choppy. So to prevent that choppy, what I do is I try to keep a continuity in the use of the fabric so that it doesn't change too drastically and that it has a certain continuity to it. And I'm going to basically, even though this may have a little shadow eventually, I'm going to basically render this as a solid and render this as a solid. And if you need to put a tracing paper under your hand because you feel that you're smushing the marker, you could do that too. Okay. And all right. Ready? I'm going to turn it over. Now, you know why I turn this over? Because this may have some wetness to it. So I don't want it to adhere to the paper, so I'm turning it over again so I don't get that, okay? And now we look at the drawing. Now sometimes what's very interesting is sometimes I like it better on the wrong side. See, this is what they call a happy accident. So if I want to, I could say, you know what? I'm going to render it, keep it on this side. I'm not married to one side of this. See how this kind of faded a little bit? That's okay. I can bring it up a little bit. That's not a problem. But it's richer. You see how the skin tone is a little richer on that side. So I'm a little happy with that skin tone. I like that, all right. So now I'm going to use as an outline, and you know you can use your Pigma pencils, and you can even use Pigma pencils that are in keeping more with the color story. So if I had a color story, a few people had it, that was brownish tone, you can use a brown pencil for outline, a dark brown pencil for outline. If I have something that's a softer tone, I can use the 90% cool gray if I want, or black, depending on what your color story is. So be sensitive to the color story. In this case, I'm going to use the Pigma, Micron Pigma. So I'm going to be switching off and using a 0.5 as my main outline, a 0.3 for smaller details, and a 0.05 for what we call minutia details, which is the very teeny weeny, tiny, whatever details. Okay. Okay. So I would stop it, and now, like that, I'm at the outline